بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم إنا نسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة ولكل مسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة ولكل مسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة ولكل مسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك التوفيق والإخلاص ودوام النعمة وحسن الختام. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآدم نوح إبراهيم وموسى وعيسى وما بينهم من النبيين والمرسلين صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآدم نوح إبراهيم وموسى وعيسى وما بينهم من النبيين والمرسلين صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآدم نوح إبراهيم وموسى وعيسى وما بينهم من النبيين والمرسلين صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, I think we're on line 122. Is that correct? That's right, 122. Okay. So he says, Imam Laqani rahimahullah ta'ala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa nafa'ana bihi wa bikum ameen. وعندنا الشيء هو الموجود وثابت في الخارج الموجود. That عندنا according to us Ahl Sunnah, الشيء هو الموجود. So the thing is al-mawjud, that which exists, the existent. الشيء هو الموجود. نعم. وثابت في الخارج الموجود, and affirmed in the kharij, objective reality. Okay, there's wujud khariji, existence, objective existence, and wujud dhihni, mental conception and existence in the mind only. And so wujud khariji, this is the realm that we are discussing, that in this context, which has to do with ontology. So وَثَابِتٌ فِي الْخَارِجِ الْمَوْجُودِ, the mawjud, that which exists, is affirmed in objective reality, objective existence. So this is a very packed line, but if we want to sort of get at the heart of what's being said, that the word shay, thing in Arabic, there's two usages. There's the linguistic usage, and there's the usage in the terminology of the Shariah, or our theological usage. So the linguistic usage of a shay is al-mumkin, okay, that which is logically possible or conceivable, that which its existence would not entail an absurdity. So anything that's mumkin, anything that's logically conceivable or possible, there's no contradiction entailed, so it's not mustahil, nor is it wajib, because if it's wajibul wujud, then its existence is not, it's not possible, it's necessary. And we're speaking linguistically, because in theologically, shay can be used for the wajibul wujud, but linguistically, that it's the mumkin. So, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. He is qadir, he is capable of kulli shay, every single mumkin. So the tafsir of that, according to the Ashis, would be, and that's what we learned, that the ta'alluqat of qudra are to the mumkinat, all of the things that are conceivable. So if it's conceivable and it's not inconceivable nor necessary, then Allah can do it. Okay, so that has to do with the linguistic usage of shay. But in theology, the Asharis, they said that ash-shay huwa al-mawjud. Ash-shay huwa al-mawjud. The thing is not merely what can exist conceivably, it's what actually exists. It's what actually exists. Okay, so why would they say that? So of all the mumkinat, there are mawjudat and ma'dumat. Of all of the things that are logically conceivable, you have things that actually exist and things that don't exist. And this has to do with what Allah Ta'ala creates. If He creates it, it's going to exist. If He doesn't create it, it has no chance of making it. So, الشيء هو الموجود, they're limiting it in the theological discussion to simply that which exists. Why? Because there's a danger of saying al-ma'dum shay'. Okay, there's a danger in saying that that which does not exist is a thing. And the danger is that if you affirm shay'iyya, thingness, to something that does not exist, then it's as if you're affirming some type of existence for it. Okay, and we know that the ma'dum, the ma'dumat that Allah never willed to come into the world, there is a pre-eternality to them, in the sense that they never existed. So, in pre-eternity, the only thing that exists is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith says, Kan Allah. Allah was. Wala shay' ma'ahu. O kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And there was nothing else. Wala shay'a. There was no thing. Ghayruhu, besides Him, or ma'ahu, with Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is no thing in pre-eternity. The only thing, see, this is the problem with language. The only entity that exists in pre-eternity is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why the Asharis and the Maturidis, both, the Ahl Sunnah, they said that the shay is the mawjood only. Because if you say the shay is also the ma'dum, it's that which does not exist, that means in pre-eternity there are a whole lot of things. Because there's an infinite number of possibilities that did not exist, that were ma'dum in pre-eternity. And so to affirm thingness to them would be, it's just knocking on the door of affirming a type of existence. Implicitly, like by implication, one is on the verge. One is on the verge of affirming some sort of realm of existence. Oh, it's not in wujud yet, but it's a shay'. Okay? And so Imam Ash'ari wanted to completely close that door, because we believe in creation ex nihilo. Okay, the Quranic paradigm of creation is creation ex nihilo, to create min adam, out of nothing. Okay, so Adam, we do not consider Adam to be a realm of thingness. This is the point. Because things have no ontological existence unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills and creates them, existentiates them. So the shay' huwa al-mawjud. Because the Mu'tazzilis, they said the shay' is the ma'dum as well. And what they said is that they gave the analogy of a cupboard or a box of Adam, of non-existence, and all of the things, again, the problem of language, all of the things that Allah Ta'ala would later create, that He willed in pre-eternity to later bring into existence, He simply took out of the cupboard and draped it with the garment of existence. This is what they said. Okay, He draped the thing from Adam with the garment of existence. So then now the thing exists in kharij, in objective reality. Okay, so Imam Ash'ari, he had a big problem with this, because it's as if they're saying that all those things, there's a cupboard of some realm of existence in pre-eternity. Even though they did not say that, they're still Muslim, the Mu'tazzilis, but they're on the verge, and one could easily misconstrue that. So that's why he says ash-shay' huwa al-mawjud, and that's also why he says that the wujud aynul mawjud. Al-wujud aynul mawjud. Existence is the essence of the thing that exists. Okay, because again, from the Aristotelian paradigm, you have essence and accidents. You have essential traits and you have accidental traits. The essence is something that is unchanging, whereas the accidents can change without changing the essence. So the way the Mu'tazzilis were phrasing it was that if wujud is this garment that's being draped around the thing, then it's an accident. It's not the essence. Meaning that without that garment, there's still something in pre-eternity. So Imam Ash'ari said, no, existence is the very essence of the thing that exists. I.e., without existence, there is nothing. It's the essence. If you take away the essence, there's nothing. If you take away the accident, there's still something. And so the way the Mu'tazzilis framed it was that if it's a garment that you wrap around, then if you take away the garment, there's still something there. Even though they did not believe in the pre-eternality of those things, but they were on the language they used was very conducive to that, essentially, a belief that entails kufr. Okay, to affirm the pre-eternality of anything besides Allah is one of the three things that Imam Ghazali refuted the philosophers, saying that these are one of the three things that entail disbelief. So he says that ash-shay' huwa al-mawjood, the thing, it's only a thing when it exists. That's the first take-home point, that it's only a thing if it exists. There's no thing in pre-eternal non-existence. It's like even in English we say nothing was there besides Allah. Nothing, no thing. And that secondly, that existence is not a incidental trait of something. Rather, it is the essence itself. And if you take away existence, nothing's there. Literally nothing, no thing is there. Alhamdulillah. That's the first part. وَعِنَّنَا الشَّيْءُ هُوَ الْمَوْجُودُ. طيب, the second part, وَثَابِتٌ فِي الْخَارِجِ الْمَوْجُودُ. Once it exists, we affirm it as real. Okay? Once it exists, we affirm it as real. So we do not believe that all of this stuff is just a mirage. Okay? We do not believe that all of this stuff is not real, and that we affirm. So the beginning of the Nasafiyya, that قَالَ أَهْلُ الْحَقِّ, right, that the people of haqq, of objective reality, of truth, state حَقَائِقُ الْأَشْيَاء ثَابِتَةً, that the realities or essences of things ثَابِتَة are affirmed. وَالْعِلْمُ بِهَا مُتَحَقِّقٌ, and knowledge of those things, of those essences, is real, متحقق, خِلَافًا لِلسُّفَسْطَائِيَّة, contrary to what the sophists claim. Meaning that this is what is called metaphysical realism and epistemological realism. We affirm metaphysically that things are real and they have essences, and we affirm epistemologically that we can know those things and know those essences. Why is this important? Because that's why he says وَثَابِتٌ فِي الْخَارِجِ الْمَوْجُودِ. The thing, once it exists, it is thabit fil kharij. We do affirm. Okay, because the sophists, they try to get out of affirming anything by saying, how do you know anything is real? And existence is but subjective, and it's a projection from the mind, or it's a play on language, etc., etc. And if that is a door to kufr, that basically if things aren't real and there is no objective existence, then how do you believe in God? And how do you believe in prophecy? And how do you believe in ethics? What's the basis of ethics if things aren't real? And how do you have sound politics, and how do you have sound anything? Everything falls apart if you deny objective existence. So he says that وَإِنَّنَا الشَّيْءُ هُوَ الْمَوْجُودُ وَثَابِتٌ فِي الْخَارِجِ الْمَوْجُودِ. These are two really important foundational precepts in our theology. So now, it's also important to make a distinction, and this is what was expressed by some of the later metaphysicians and mystics of Islam, that the existence of contingent things, while they are affirmed, is nothing like the existence of the necessarily existent. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence, there's no laysa kamithlihi shay'. This word shay' keeps on coming up in our discussion. Laysa kamithlihi shay'. There is nothing like him whatsoever. So there's nothing like Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in any perspective that we discuss or we try to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's nothing like His entity. Okay, there's no thing like His entity or His being, which is wujud. So there's nothing like His existence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing like His attributes. No thing has attributes like Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. No thing has being or existence like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No thing has attributes like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing like His actions. No thing has actions like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing like His rulings. No thing has rulings like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. He is wahdaniyah, one of the negating attributes. He is one in His being, subhanahu wa ta'ala, His that, His entity. He is one in His attributes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one shares. There's no co-sharer in His attributes. He is one in His actions, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hada khalqullah. We talked about occasionalism. No one can create an effect other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is one in His rulings, which is our ethics, that no one determines what's right or wrong but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The aql does not determine what's right or wrong. Okay, it is rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that determines what is right and wrong. So He is one in His being, meaning that the existence of contingent things is utterly dissimilar to the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Arabic, the way Imam Al-Ghazali expresses this in the Kitab al-Shukr wa Sabr in the Ihya al-Madin, is he differentiates between the mawjood and the mujad. Okay, the mawjood and the mujad. So for us students of Arabic, that the mawjood is from the root one, from the form one of the root. So the ism maf'ul, that which exists, okay, from wajada, that which exists in and of itself. So Allah Ta'ala is wajibul wujud. He exists, subhanahu wa ta'ala, in and of Himself. Nothing is affecting Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is necessarily existent, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas we are mujad, this is from the form 4, which has to do with making something exist. So wajada or wujida, to exist, wujida, to exist, the passive, versus awjada, to make exist. Ijad is Allah's domain. The definition or the understanding of His attribute of qudra is it is the attribute of ijad, of making exist, creating existence, existentiation. And so we are products of that phenomenon. Okay, hada khalqullah, we are the result of Allah's fiat, of His making things be, kun, fayakun, and then it is. So the existence of the thing after Allah says kun, i.e. that the qudra associates with the thing, is that, and again, it's not a thing until the qudra associates with it. But what the result of that is, it is now mujad. It has been existentiated. It has been existentiated. Okay? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the only one who is mawjood. He's the only one that exists, i.e. in and of Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas everything else that exists, all of creation, which is contingent existence, which exists contingently, only exists because He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, creates it and maintains it. So it is mujad, the property, the product or the result of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ijad. And so in that sense, Allah ta'ala is al-hayyul qayyum, which according to Imam Nawawi is the ism al-azam. Okay, most of the ulama said it's lafdul jalala, Allah, whereas Imam Nawawi said the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-hayyul qayyum. And if we reflect on these names, and that Allah ta'ala is al-hayy, He is alive without anyone causing or affecting Him. He is alive in and of Himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is also al-qayyum, meaning al-qa'im bi nafsihi, al-muqim li ghayrihi, the one that in and of Himself exists, the mawjood, okay, the one whose existence is necessary, al-muqim li ghayrihi, who is maintaining everything in existence as it is at every moment. So we are being made. We don't exist in and of ourselves. We are being made, maintained, because of, this is the theophany of the name Al-Qayyum. This is the theophany of the name Al-Qayyum. So the whole cosmos is the theophany of the name Al-Qayyum, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because and this is a sigha mubalagha, this is emphatic pattern in Arabic, fa'ul. So it's because He is constantly maintaining everything that exists in creation. So that Ibn Ata'illah, he expresses this in a profound hikmah, apprising us of the necessity of shukr when he says, أنعم عليك أولا بالإيجاد وثانيا بتوالي الإمداد. That he blessed you firstly by ijad, again that form 4, making you exist, bringing you into being. وثانيا, and secondly, بتوالي الإمداد. Tawali is moment after moment in succession, one after another, after another, after another, by continuous imdad, maintaining. He blessed you secondly by continually maintaining you, keeping you in existence, such that were he to let go, subhanahu wa ta'ala, were the kun to be lifted, so to speak, then we would wink out of existence immediately, go straight to Adam, which was our asl. Our asl is Adam. The asl of Allah, Allah's being is pure wujud, whereas our asl, we shouldn't say asl for Allah, but Allah's being, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is pure wujud, whereas our being is pure Adam in light of the asl. And the foundation is really how you see something. So, it's only by Allah Ta'ala's tawali al-imdad, His continual maintaining us, that we are here. And that every moment then is a theophany of that imdad. And so, how do we express shukr for that? And we're completely incapable of even realizing what that means, let alone actually saying, thank you, Allah, for this moment that I'm in, and all of the blessings, the tsunamis of blessings that I'm being inundated with, such that I can see and I can hear and I can breathe and I can, all of these things, let alone, but just the pure existence, just the fact that we are not winking into non-existence means that there is a profound imdad occurring. And the thing is, by the time we even perceive the moment we're in, it's already the next moment. Moments are running so fast that by the time you even conceive of just the now, right now, when I said now, it was already in the past by the time we all heard it. And so that the moments are just being flooded one after another, after another, after another. Each moment we are still here. How can we give shukr? It's mustahil, it's impossible. Our brain cannot even comprehend the first moment to even realize our existence in that moment, to give shukr. By the time we give shukr, it's already the next moment which we're being brought in, kept in existence, etc., etc., etc. And so that's why there's a narration that the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, he's giving shukr and he's saying, oh Allah, thank you so much and thank you so much and thank you so much, and he's giving all of the shukr, and he reaches a point where he says, oh Allah, how can I give shukr to you when my very shukr is a gift? How can I give shukr when my very shukr is a gift from you, the tawfiq to give shukr? And then Allah Ta'ala says, Al-an shakartani. Now you have given me shukr. Because to realize your incapacity is really, so the heart of shukr is a type of faqr. At the essence of shukr is a type of faqr, realizing that we're completely incapable, utterly incapable. And so faqr and shukr go together, and which is why some of our masters advise us to just say, Habli ya mawlaya bila shay'. Ibn Abbad al-Rundi says you should say, Habli ya mawlaya bila shay'. Gift me, O my master, bila shay', for no thing, for nothing. Because what have we done for Allah? There's nothing. We can't even understand our own being and what's entailed in our existence. To give gratitude, if we give gratitude, the gratitude was a gift. Just bila shay', I have nothing to give you. I have faqr. That's all I have to offer you, Ya Allah. The only thing I have to give you, to put forth, is my need of you. And for that reason, gift me. For that reason, gift me. What's the ayah, Sidi? Atif. In yakunu fuqara, yughnihim Allahu min fadli. Yeah. In yakunu fuqara, if they are truly impoverished and in need, then Allah will enrich them from His bounty. The condition to be enriched is to have faqr. And the outward tafsir of that is different, but the ishara of that our masters mention is that to express your faqr to Allah, that's when the gifts will start pouring, inshallah. So in any case, Bismillah. وجود شيء عينه والجوهر الفرد حادث عندنا لا ينكر. So this is what we just said. وجود شيء عينه. We already described that. Imam Ashri said that the ayn, al-wujud ayn al-mawjud. Existence is the essence of the thing that exists. We described that. And then he says, وَالْجَوْهُرُ الْفَرْدُ حَادِثْ عِنْدَنَا لَا يُنْكَرُ. This is the Ashari and Maturidi atomic theory, what's called classically the atomic theory. We affirm atoms, which is not the way atoms are the term that's used today in physics, but rather an indivisible particle. Okay, so our ontology is based off of belief in an indivisible particle that all of stuff is made up of. Okay, indivisible particles, so that there is a jawhar al-fard of space, which is what everything is made up of. Were it to be broken down, there would be indivisible, discrete particles. And there's also the jawhar al-fard of time, okay, in Sunni theology, meaning that what is time? It is a succession of indivisible, discrete moments. Indivisible, discrete moments. So this is the understanding of the Asharis and Maturidis with respect to space and time, that they can be broken down into indivisible, discrete moments. And there's a theory today in physics where it's called the chronon, where they actually feel that this is, some physicists feel that this is the most accurate depiction of time, is what's called the chronon, which is literally a discrete, indivisible unit of time. So both of them are hadith. That's the point. Al-Jawhar al-Fardu hadith. Both the particle, the indivisible particle that's the building block of space, and the indivisible unit of time that makes up the succession of moments, the tawali, that these are hadith. Allah is creating them both. Okay, they're completely contingent and dependent on Allah at every moment. Okay, so this is the only existence that's necessary, that's not contingent, is the being of Allah Himself, and He is one, subhanahu wa ta'ala, one and unique. Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad. So he says, La yunkaru, this is undeniable. And then 124. So again, now once we have an ontological imperative, then we have a moral imperative. So ethics stem from theology. So sins, he says, ثُمَّ الذُّنُوبُ عِنْدَنَا قِسْمَانِ صَغِيرَةٌ كَبِيرَةٌ فَالثَّانِ مِنْهُ الْمَتَابُ وَاجِبٌ فِي الْحَالِ وَلَا انْتِقَادَ إِنْ يَعُدْ لِلْحَالِ. So to proceed, sins according to us are of two types: minor sins and major sins, صغيرة كبيرة. Okay, and there's a lot of discussion as to what's the distinction between the two, but many of them said that it's if there is an explicit punishment or curse that's mentioned in the Quran or Sunnah for a sin, then that sin is deemed kabira. It's a mortal sin or enormity. If there's no explicit punishment or curse mentioned, then it's a saghira or minor sin. So Imam Laqani says that fathani, the second of the two, the kabira, minhul matabu wajibun fil hali. It is an obligation to make tawbah immediately. If a person commits a kabira, then it's an obligation to make tawbah immediately, meaning that if they delay their tawbah, it's a second sin. Okay, to delay tawbah, and tawbah is to stop doing it, to make an internal resolve not to repeat it, and to feel genuine remorse for having done it. And if there is the rights of someone else, then to redress those rights. So that's an immediate obligation after a kabira. And then he says, وَلَا انْتِقَادَ إِنْ يَعُدْ لِلْحَالِ. However, if after that tawbah the person falls into it again, the second instance of the sin does not nullify their first tawbah. So it's a second instance, and they have to make tawbah for that second instance. But the first tawbah was still valid. Does that make sense? Okay, unless, of course, when they made the first tawbah, they were intending to go back to it, because the conditions of tawbah, one of them is to resolve not to repeat it. So it's only a genuine tawbah if the person is committed to changing. But after that commitment, if they slip again, then the first tawbah was still valid. This is what he's saying, rahimahullah ta'ala. No. we'll do, inshallah, at the end, we'll try to do some questions. So if you can, yeah, because we have to, inshallah, finish. Bi'idhnillah. Barakallahu feekum. Samihuni. Ana al-muqassir. Barakallahu feekum. Yeah, if everyone just makes a note of their questions, because we'll do it at the end, inshallah. So that, لكن يجدد توبة لما اقترف وفي القبول رأيهم قد اختلف. However, so if the person falls into it a second time, يجدد, he should renew his tawbah لما اقترف, for what he has committed. Alright, so we should make tawbah every time. And if a person has a problem and they keep on falling into it, but every time they fall into it, they genuinely feel remorse and they make a sound tawbah, then, Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, he was asked about such a person that if they do something 70 times a day, the same sin, and every time they make tawbah but they fall into it, and the questioner said, isn't he a hypocrite? And Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, he says, rather he is a true mu'min, because he didn't just let go and indulge in the sin all day. No, he genuinely tried to get out, pick himself up 70 times. And so the genuine tawbah that follows the sin is a sign of one's iman, that the person is a genuine believer. And so one should never despair, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how stuck a person feels in a particular sin, in a particular vice. Never lose hope in Allah. Never lose hope in His mercy. And obviously there is a struggle, there's a genuine mujahada that the person has to do, but that the door of tawbah is always open, and that Allah Ta'ala loves tawbah more than we love anything in this dunya. Okay, if we had a situation where our life is about to be lost, and from a place or situation where we least expected it, our salvation comes such that we can survive, the joy that would fill our hearts it's nothing compared to Allah's love for tawbah. This is what the hadith says about the man in the desert. So, Lallahu afrahu bi tawbati abdihi min ahadikum saqata ala ba'irihi wa qad adalluhu fi ardin falat. Allah is more afrah, He is more, Lallahu afrahu, the lam is like a qasam. Wallahi, by God, Allah is more afrah, yani excited, overjoyed. The word for human beings, like you can't contain yourself. And that, the way we have in our contingent realm, that Allah in His own Majesty subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is more pleased with the tawbah of the servant than a person who's about to lose everything, their very life, and they find a way out. So never despair. So jaddid, lakin yujaddid tawbatan. We have to keep on making tawbah and keep on, trying to pick ourselves up and start again. And one of the essential keys in this is company. If a person finds himself or herself in a rut where they're stuck with a particular sin or particular sins, then they need to find good company. They need to change their company. Like the hadith about the man that killed 100 people, and the door of tawbah was open, but he had to leave that place. And a lot of times, the place from which we find our julasa, our sitting friends, companions, is the internet. It's the shasha of Iblis. It's the satanic screen, which I'm not condemning the tool. There's a lot of people who say, what are you doing? And there's good in it too. And I use my laptop, alhamdulillah, inshallah, for good. But that if you compare the amount of harm versus the amount of benefit, and how many people are destroyed versus how many people can do beneficial things, you might as well say it's Satan's screen. There's enough. So we have to be vigilant with the screen and change our company. See where we're going, what kind of websites we're going to, and find websites that are beneficial, or don't go online at all. And if people have certain, just to never use the internet in private. Some people have problems with the internet. They should force themselves in a situation where they can't get online except where other eyes are there, just to get out of any particular sins or harms that they're falling into. So change. We need to change, and we need to take the measures to facilitate that change. And at the foremost of those measures is better company. Changing the people that we're around, or the things that we're reading, or the websites that we're going to. And so we ask Allah for afiyah. like Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. So tools are not so innocent. They're not so neutral. ولا انتقاد إن يعود الحالي لكن يجدد توبة لما اقترف وفي القبول رأيهم قد اختلف. As for Allah's acceptance of Tawbah, there is a bit of disagreement. For all intents and purposes, there is an agreement that Allah accepts Tawbah. Okay, so Allah Ta'ala, He loves Tawbah, He accepts it. The only difference is, do we know this qat'an or dhannan? Okay, so this is an usuli difference. The usuliyun, Imam Ashri, his opinion was that Allah's qabul of Tawbah, Allah's acceptance of our Tawbah is something that we know qat'an. It's definitively known. Okay, whereas Imam al-Haramain and Al-Qadi Abu Bakr al-Baqillani, they felt that it's dhannan, it's something that's, highly, highly likely known. So it's an usuli difference, but this difference pertains to other than disbelief, i.e. other than becoming Muslim. Becoming Muslim, there's agreement. It's qat'an accepted. It is absolutely, definitively accepted, the tawbah of when the person takes their shahada. But for the Muslim that's making tawbah from a sin, and there's an agreement that it's above 95% likely that it's accepted, but then it's disagreement, is it 95 to 99% or is it 100%? That's the disagreement. So there's a benefit in us as believers, lay people, seeing what these usuliyun are differing on this, that we should have incredible hope that Allah is accepting our tawbah, but in the end of the day, don't take it for granted. Yeah, and so we should change quickly, inshallah, if we're stuck in something. Yeah, this is part of zuhud. Zuhud is to be unattached to other than Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, to be unattached to other than Allah, and one of the most important types of zuhud is to be unattached to the way we are. Okay, to be unattached to the way we are, meaning we're willing to change, however hard it may be. This is from the ethic of zuhud. And so if our attachment is to Allah and Allah alone, then we are labbaik, yani we are ready to embrace the changes that we need to make. But if we're attached to our vices and the way we are, then it's going to be really, really hard. And so, izhad fi dunya yuhibbuk Allah. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be detached from dunya includes your own person. Be detached from other than Allah, and Allah will love you. Why will Allah love you? Because you're willing to change. No. Wallahu a'lam. And 127, these are what are called the kulliyat, the universals or the maqasid of the Shariah. وَحِفْظُ دِينٍ ثُمَّ نَفْسٍ مَا النَّسَبُ وَمِثْلُهَا عَقْلٌ وَإِرْدٌ قَدْ وَجَبْ. So that Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, that the rulings, the furu', the rulings of Islam are taken from the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, taken from the Quran and Sunnah. And Sunnah does not mean hadith. This is important. And according to some madhabs it might, but not in all the madhabs. Okay, so one cannot equate the two because there's other ways of knowing the Sunnah. For example, the fatwa of Sahaba. The fatwa of Sahaba has a lot of weight. So the usuliyun differed as to what's the most appropriate way. The Malikis would say the amal of Medina is critical. So my point is that the Sunnah, not necessarily hadith, that's a better way of saying it. Hadith obviously is instrumental in understanding the Sunnah, but there's other ways and these have to be reconciled. But the point is that the furu', the legal rulings of Islam are derived from the Quran and Sunnah. And there's a difference based off of the madhabs. Those are primary. Those were derived first. But then when the scholars of usul investigated the benefits and the consequences of these rulings, they were able to derive these maqasid, these general universal aims or purposes benefits that the rulings were preserving. Okay, that all of the rulings preserved some fundamentals in human society, so, and in the lives of human beings. So that these were secondarily deduced, excuse me. So that what are these? The first is deen, preservation of religion, which is obviously at the height or at the pinnacle, and then nafs, the preservation of life, and this would include, the bodily harm. That's why it's haram to harm someone's life or to their limb, from life itself all the way to, the parts of the human being. Mal, property, so theft and, ghasb, usurping property, and robbery, and all of these things are haram. Nasab, lineage, which is, so zina is haram, right? Because one of the maqsad that they derived is that the nasab, the lineage, is obviously is affected. A child born out of wedlock, and all of the harms that ensue from that. And then وَمِثْلُهَا عَقْلٌ, intellect. Okay, so alcohol, drugs, etc. They affect the intellect. And then ird is the reputation or good name of a person. And so shatam, sab, qadf, that insulting, cursing, false accusation of fornication, all of these this destroys the ird. And so all of the rulings, they can be seen to preserve these foundational maqasid, and there's 5 or 6 of them. There's 6 are mentioned here. Qad wajab, these are necessary. And then the next 2 lines deal with the issue of takfir. Okay, the issue of takfir. So we already discussed that. Contrary to the Muatezzilis and the Kharijis, committing a sin, no matter how bad the sin is, even committing every sin in Islam other than Kufr, does not take one outside of Islam. Okay, this is the Sunni position, that the amal, the actions, are not from the mahiyya or essence of iman. Okay, we talked about at the very beginning of the course that we discussed the definition of iman, and we said that iman is that it is the hadithun nafs at-tabi lil-ma'rifa. It is the statement of a person's soul that follows their knowledge, okay, their certainty of the truth of the message. And what's the statement of the soul? qabiltu wa ad'antu, that I accept and I submit to this reality, right? That's iman. And that we said that the expression of that on the tongue is a shart for ijra al-ahkam al-dunyawiyya. It is but a condition so that the society knows of a person's Islam. So it's not from the essence of faith, but it's concomitant with faith, and it's necessary such that the community knows that a person's Muslim. Whereas the amal, actions, avoiding sins, is not from the essence of faith, nor is it a condition for people to know that someone is a member of the Muslim community. Rather, it is from the kamal. It's from the perfection of faith. It's from the perfection of faith. So whenever iman is used in the context of a particular deed, then we know that it means kamalul iman, not ainul iman. It has to do with the perfection of faith, not the essence of faith. Meaning what? All the ahadith that say, la yu'minu ahadukum hatta, none of you believe until, what comes after until is not a condition for iman to just exist in the heart. Rather, it's a condition for the perfection of iman. So none of you believe until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. If a person does not love for his brother what he loves for himself, he's still a mu'min. He has the essence of faith, which is he believes, but he lacks a perfection of faith. If a person does not love the best of creation sallallahu alaihi wasallam as much as his parents, they're still mu'min. Okay, the hadith says لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحبه إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So that none of you have iman until I am more beloved to him than his parents, children, and all of humanity. Well, if a person is not at that level, they're still mu'min because they have the essence of faith. They're lacking the kamal. They're lacking the perfection. This is the way the Sunnis understood, whereas the Kharijis took a lot of these literally. Oh, so and so, they're not at this level, therefore they're not mu'min. So the faith has to do with the belief in the heart, okay, and then the expression on the tongue has to do with public knowledge of that. This is really important. And that's why the hadith that Iman has 77 branches, okay, that all those are the branches of the Kamal of Iman, right? They're the branches of the perfection of faith, not the essence of faith itself, because the least of which is what? Removing a harmful thing from the road. So a Muslim passes by, sees something harmful on the road, and says, I'm too busy and whatever, someone else will do it. Are they no longer Muslim? Because they missed the branch of faith of Iman. Are they no longer mu'min? Of course they're mu'min. A'udhu billah. But they missed out on a perfection of their Iman. Okay, they missed out on a perfection of their Iman. Bismillah. So the Mu'tazzilis and the Kharijis, they said if someone commits a kabira, they're not mu'min anymore. Ouch. If someone commits a kabira, they're not mu'min anymore. Very dangerous. You can appreciate the harmful, pernicious political repercussions of these perspectives, and how many Muslims have been killed historically and today because of a type of neo-Khariji. Today, neo-Khariji, classically a Khariji or Mu'tazili belief, okay, because then a Muslim, they commit a kabira, it's seen in public, and then they're no longer Muslim, then, they felt that their blood would be permissible. Wala'iyadu billah, Allah protect us. So the Ahl Sunnah know that the only thing that takes a person out of Islam is to deny what first brought them in. Okay, the only thing to take a person out of Islam and Iman is to deny what first brought them in, which is the Shahada. And so, again, it has to do with the essence of faith. The essence of faith is an internal acceptance and submission to La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The only thing that takes a person out of that is to deny that. And so ultimately it goes back to, do they believe in Allah and His oneness, and of course the attributes that we've talked about, Allah is all powerful, all knowledgeable, etc. And do they believe that Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a truthful messenger of God? Okay, was he a truthful and sane messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because your only option when you study him sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that either he was a truthful and sane messenger, or he was I don't even want to say it, but that what people would say that he did not tell the truth, okay, or that he was not sane sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hasha. Whereas anyone that studies him, they'll reject the latter two. He certainly was sane sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he certainly was truthful sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so you're left with Nabiullah. He was a prophet of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So to deny that, okay. Now the denial of that could be explicit or implicit, and this is what is important in the context, because what's being discussed here, that explicit denial of that would be if someone were to explicitly just say they don't believe in this. But an implicit denial is by denying something that's necessarily known of the religion. Okay, so things that are foundational pillars of the religion and that are necessarily known of the religion, ma'lum min ad-din bid-darura, it's akin to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying it to us right now. So what's necessarily known in the religion? The 5 pillars. Okay, so the religion has a foundational command to aqimus salah. It's so necessarily known, it's so undeniable, it's so foundational, it's as if the Prophet ﷺ is right here saying aqimus salah. So if someone were to deny the obligation of prayer, it's implicitly denying the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Okay, So that's why they said that at the heart of, so the issues of takfir, it goes down to explicit or implicit denial of the shahada. And the implicit denial of the shahada is denying what's necessarily known of the religion. And so that's denying ma'lum min ad-din bid-darura, or 129, وَمِثْلُ هَذَا مَنْ نَفَى لِمُجْمَعٍ, someone that denies something of ijma'. Now again, what he means here by ijma' is it's an issue of ijma' that's again necessarily known of the religion, because there's issues in the law that are known by ijma' but they're not necessarily known, and if a person denied them, they're still Muslim. So it all goes back to ma'lum min ad-din bid-darura, necessarily known of the religion, which are the 5 pillars as well as the major well-known kaba'ir of Islam. 10, Allahu Akbar. Inshallah, we'll get through, don't worry. That the major, it'll be your karama, inshallah. That the major kaba'ir of Islam, which is, someone said that, khamr is permissible, okay, that to drink khamr or consume khamr or zina or something like this. So that's why he says, istibaha ka zina faltastami, or deems one of those ma'lum min ad-din bid-darura sins to be permissible, like zina. So listen up, faltasma'i. And then line 130, that وواجب النصب إمام عدل بالشرع فاعلم لا بحكم العقل فليس ركن يعتقد في الدين فلا تزغ عن أمره المبين إلا بكفر فبذن عهدا فالله يكفينا أذاه وحده. These lines deal with the Imamate, which is invariably mentioned at the end of our text of theology, and it is technically a issue of the law. It's a legal issue, and the issues of rebellion are dealt with in the legal manuals. But one can sort of appreciate that again, the intersection between theology and politics is so salient and obvious that they wanted to treat it here. And so that basically it's in wajib, it's necessary to establish a just imam, just meaning they don't openly sin. So when someone's being selected to be the head of state of a Muslim state, they should be someone that is not an open sinner. And this is something, it's a legal, not a logical obligation. So it's from the Quran and Sunnah that this is known, primarily the Sunnah. And he said it's not a rukn of the deen, so it's not a pillar of Islam. Rather, it is something that stems from the pillars. And then it has to do with that do not disobey. So the basic, to summarize, that the Sunni perspective on the head of state in a Muslim state, okay, that in a Muslim state, that the head of state is to be obeyed, and that that and there's no rebellion, okay, according to Sunni Islam, unless the head of state leaves Islam. That's a summary of the issues that he's mentioning here. And so, obviously Muslims as a minority in non-Muslim lands, there's no rebellion anytime, because it's a non-Muslim land, so he's going to be the person will be non-Muslim, and so that there's no rebellion for the only basis of non-Muslims residing in of Muslims residing in non-Muslim lands is the mutual contract of aman, is their musta'man, so that there is a commitment, a binding contract to obey the law and also to be protected by the law. But in a Muslim state, that Muslim citizens of a Muslim state, that rebellion by and large is not allowed, unless that the Imam leaves Islam. So this is obviously a proper treatment of this issue is outside the scope of the class and the time remaining, but alhamdulillah, this is just sort of a basic. So بغير هذا لا يباح صرفه وليس يؤذل إن أزيل وصفه. So that what we just said, the only time. And there's also a difference, between outright rebellion and peaceful protest. Okay, that peaceful protest is not the same as rebellion. So this is important to keep in mind. And then the end now, and we'll just read through these last 10 lines or so, is that the later texts of Sunni creed have a treatment of ethics. Okay, this is something that's really beautiful that in our tradition. And one of the reasons why this occurs in the later texts of the tradition is that earlier on, that the disciplines, when they were founded and formulated and codified, each discipline was distinct and unique and developed independently. So you have a hadith discipline that develops independently. You have a law discipline, fiqh. You have tafsir. You have aqidah, creed, and they're just dealing with the creedal issues. You have tasawwuf, Sufism, that's dealing with the personal development and matters of taqwa, ethics. So they are codified independently because that was what was necessary in those early stages to preserve each science. They had to be organized and preserved in a sort of formal way. But later, that these sciences are reintegrated. Okay, they're reintegrated, and probably the most obvious and example of this is Imam Al-Ghazali, who in his Ihya Ulumuddin, he literally revives Ihya Ulumuddin. He revives these previously distinct subjects in one harmonized framework. Okay, and so his Ihya Ulumuddin it's really, it's usually considered a manual of tasawwuf, of spirituality, or particularly mu'amala, of practical ethics. But there's law in there, okay? There's theology in there, there's creed in there, there is hadith in there. It could be argued that it's a tafsir. One of the things Sheikh Abdul Murad has mentioned more than once is that one could see it as the greatest tafsir of our tradition, because anytime Imam Ghazali rahimahullah treats a particular issue, he starts off with the ayat of the Quran that deal with that issue. And then he goes into the ahadith, and then he goes into ithaar, the statements of the early salaf, and then he goes into his treatment of that issue. And so depending how you look at it, if you were to rearrange all the ayat that start off each section in the order of the mushaf, and then see his commentary, it's arguably the most practical tafsir, because it teaches you how to implement the implications of those ayahs. It's a book of mu'amala, of practical what to do to get this. Like his treatment of the vices are just amazing, because he goes through like anger. He goes through every single cause of anger, and then he goes to the root of each one and how to remove that. And he has a treatment, like a basic treatment of just dealing with it, and then a foundational treatment to uproot it from the very root. And so he goes through. So when the Quran and Sunnah have, when there's these ayats or ahadith about the ethics of Islam, he actually goes through step by step how to how to manifest those things, so that he integrates everything. He integrates all of these sciences, and then he avoids the mukashafa, like the mystical aspects, because his intention for that book was mu'amala, practical implementation. But the next great integrator, it could be argued, was Ibn Arabi, and he integrates everything, including mysticism, and primarily mysticism, and he again connects it to the Quran in a very profound way. And so, like Sheikh Abdul Murad argues that perhaps this is why they're considered the two of the main revivers of the religion, is that they were able to integrate sciences that were previously separate and unique, and their integration is directly from the Quran. They're able to tie it back to the Quran. And so what they do is they restore an original unity, because originally with the Sahaba, and in particular the best of creation sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of these things are interwoven in his person sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he is the epitome of all of the fiqh issues. He is the epitome of creed. He is the epitome of practical tasawwuf. He is the epitome of mysticism. He is the epitome of everything. He is kana khuluqu al-Quran. He is the greatest tafsir. Our mother Aisha said his person, his character was the Quran sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so the revivers, every qarn has man yujaddid dinahu, who the people that will revive the religion. It could be argued that they're the ones that are able to reharmonize and reintegrate them, and to show that they are not mutually exclusive, but rather in a beautiful harmony. And so these later creeds then have, because the authors of these creeds were also, they were spiritual masters. Imam Laqani, when we went through his bio at the beginning, he did this under the tutelage of a spiritual mentor that made dua for him. And these commentators, Imam Sawi was a well-known spiritual master, and he's also a well-known jurist of the Maliki school. They are in each of these sciences, but they're all of them in their person, and Imam Bajuri as well, all of these scholars. So they want to end with ethics, which is really the fruit of our theology, that how we are in the world with each other. And so we'll read this inshallah and then see if there's questions. That he says in 134, وَأْمُرْ بِعُرْفٍ. So the first ethic that he apprises us of is to command the good. Okay, to command the good. And so, that dealing with each other, enjoining the good, and this ad-deen nasiha, the entire deen is to be concerned with our personal ethics and the ethics of each other. وَاجْتَنِبْ نَمِيمَةً, and avoid tale-bearing. Someone comes to you and says, do you know what so-and-so said about you the other day? They said that you have no idea what you're talking about whenever you talk, or something like this. And then you're like, oh, I'll show them. They have no idea what they're talking about whenever they talk. And this is called namima. This is one of the worst sins in Islam. And the hadith says that la yadkhulul jannah namam, the talebearer will not enter paradise. And it's one of the few things that explicitly it's mentioned that there is punishment in the grave for it, adab al-qabr. And so namima is a wretched vice. It's so wretched that we're actually allowed to lie to do the opposite. In Shariah, we're actually allowed to lie to mend relationships. So two people have a grudge against each other. You go to one of them, he said, the other one, the other day he was talking to me and he said, I really like so-and-so and I feel bad about everything that happened. And they never said that, but you do that just to make things better, to mend the relationship. Islahu dhatil bayn, it's called. It's not only permissible, but there's a reward in that lie. And so lying, which is the worst thing, one of the worst things in Sharia, and even especially in the urf of the Arabs, that's how bad namima is. It shows how bad namima is, that for its opposite you're allowed to lie. So certainly, even if you're truthful when you do namima, if one were to do namima, it's still namima. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Bismillah. And if someone does that to you, you're not allowed to believe them, and you have to give them nasiha to stop. You have to tell them what you're doing is wrong, and you're not allowed to have a bad opinion of the one they conveyed it from. And Imam Ghazali goes through what one needs to do when that happens. So, wa ghibatan, I think we spoke about ghiba in one of the lessons. Perhaps it was the 40 hadith, but speaking ill about anyone, anything they wouldn't like, anything at all they wouldn't like. And when you study fiqh, then there's the exceptions. Wa khaslatan dhamima, and any vice. Okay, so avoid any of the vices. He gives examples, 135, kal ujbi, like being impressed with yourself. Wal kibri, or thinking yourself better than others. Ujab is to, in and of yourself, you think you're special, right? Ta'ajjab, it's like wow. You say an internal wow as to what you are. That's ujab. And we quoted once in a class that when Al-Wasiti went to Nisapur, he met the disciples of Abu Uthman. He says, what did your mentor tell you to do? He said, he told us to amarana bil-iltizam al-ta'a, to do good, to consistently do good, wa ru'yat at-taqsir fiha, and to see ourselves as falling short in the good that we do. Right? That's the opposite of ujab, is to see you're falling short. And Al-Wasiti says, هذا مجوسية محض. This is pure dualism. This is pure dualism. Because even if I see myself as falling short in what I do, I'm still thinking I'm doing something. I'm ascribing the deed to me. He said, that's pure dualism. He said, هلا أمركم غيبة بالغيبة عنها وشهود مجريها ومنشئها. Would that he commanded you instead to be completely unaware of your good, to not even notice that you've done anything good, and rather to be cognizant of the one who's creating the deeds and causing them to flow upon you. Mujriha wa munshi'iha. That any sort of talent, achievement, success, righteous work, anything that has appeared in my person, Allah created that and Allah causes it to flow upon me. And so to be connected with Allah and not even to see that I did it but I didn't do it well enough. That even that, he said, was falling short. So may Allah give us tawfiq. So that's ujub. And then kibr is vis-a-vis others, to think you're better than others. Or to be stubborn against the truth. This is two types of kibr. The hadith says that batrul haq wa ghamtun nas, to be stubborn against the truth. If someone proves that you're wrong, it's kibr to hesitate, to admit that. So if it's from tawadu, it's from humility to say, you're absolutely right, I messed up yet again, as usual. This is the way of the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have no qualms in admitting they were wrong. Like, yeah, no problem. Right, holding on, saying, well, actually, but hold on, but this is type of kibr. So batrul haq, to be stubborn against the truth. Anything. It could be obviously the big truth, but even small truths, like if we made mistakes, if we did something wrong, to admit that. And then ghamtun nas is to think ourselves better than others. That's the other type of kibr, to think ourselves better than others, and that we should see everyone aside from us as greater than us. Okay, we should see all others as greater than us and more deserving of good. And this also helps with the ethic of ithaar. Ithaar is a very important ethic, which is virtue, which is to prefer that others get good, to prefer that others receive blessings over oneself. And if a person works on ithaar, they will avoid both kibr as well as the next one he mentions, wada' al-hasadi, that the way to uproot hasad from the very foundation is to train oneself in ithaar. So if we are constantly preferring others and we are pleased that others receive blessings more than those blessings reaching us, then there's no way we'll have hasad for them. This is the way to uproot hasad, is to focus on ithaar. And ithaar, the beauty of ithaar is that, because hasad is to object to Allah's distribution of blessings, to say, why did so-and-so get it? I should have gotten it. This is hasad. Ithaar is the opposite. So-and-so should get it, not me. And the beauty of ithaar is that by being content with Allah's distribution of blessings, one partakes of every blessing. By being content with the distribution of blessings, one gets a share of the barakah of all blessings in creation. And so in a way, you do get them all. If the concern is that I should have gotten the blessing, just prefer others to have it. And the rida, the contentment with Allah that you have in that, makes you the recipient of every blessing Allah gives. وَكَالْمِرَاءِ وَالْجَدَلْ فَاعْتَمِدِي. And other vices like mira is to criticize other people, to criticize the way they talk, to criticize what they say. And then jadal is to argue, debate, not for the haqq. Okay, and a sign that is for the haqq is that you are happy that the other person wins. You're happy that the other person, if you're with the haqq, then it shouldn't matter whose tongue it's on. And so Imam Shafi would even make dua for that when he would debate. And also another sign that their jadal is for the haqq is if they are, their approach in the debate is one of not trying to destroy the person, but rather trying to arrive together at the truth. And so there's a type of lean, a type of gentleness they have, is that it's not about me scoring points, but rather let's both take each other's hands and figure out together where to go, where the truth is. فَاعْتَمِدِي, so rely on this. وَكُنْ كَمَا كَانَ خِيَارُ الْخَلْقِ, if we want a universal how to be this in every aspect. He says, and be like the best of creation was. Halifa Hilmin, a proponent, someone who is always on hilm, which is to put up with other people's rudeness. Tabi'an lil-haqqi, always following and seeking the truth. فَكُلُّ خَيْرٍ فِي اتِّبَاعِ مَنْ سَلَفَ, because every good is in wholeheartedly following the righteous predecessors, i.e. and their inheritors. Every good is in following the righteous predecessors, i.e. and their inheritors. So it's not restricted to time. وَكُلُّ شَرٍ فِي ابْتِدَاءِ مَنْ خَلَفَ, and every evil is in the reprehensible, unprecedented, unsanctioned innovations of man khalaf, those that came later, i.e. that were not inheritors of the salaf. And so the ibtida here, the bid'ah that's wrong, is the bid'ah that has no precedent in the Shariah. The bid'ah that has no, even if it's only implicit precedent, if it has zero precedent in the Shariah. And the man khalaf, so the kullu sharrin fi ibtida'i man khalaf, every evil is in the unprecedented, unsanctioned innovations of the later people who are not inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ. وَكُلُّ هَدٍ لِلنَّبِيِّ قَدْ رَجَحَ, every guidance, every character trait of the Prophet ﷺ, قَدْ رَجَحَ, is superior. فَمَا أُبِحْ أَفْعَلْ وَدَعْ مَا لَمْ يُبَحْ, so whatever is permissible according to the Sharia, if'al, then it's do it, or one may do it, وَدَعْ مَا لَمْ يُبَحْ, but totally avoid what's impermissible, stay away from it. The way a person of dunya would stay away from something if they knew it would cause them cancer. This is the way the awliya are with anything haram. Okay? It's a spiritual cancer. فَتَابِعْ الصَّالِحَ مِمَّنْ سَلَفَ وَجَانِبِ الْبِدْعَةَ مِمَّنْ خَلَفَ, so follow the righteous company, follow the people of righteousness in what preceded, in the way of the early masters, which is a living tradition today. وَجَانِبِ الْبِدْعَةَ مِمَّنْ خَلَفَ, and avoid the innovations, the unsanctioned innovations of those that came later, again without precedent. And the bid'ah, there's external bid'ah and internal bid'ah. And internal bid'ah would be all of those diseases that we mentioned earlier, the diseases of the tongue, the diseases of the heart, ujub, kibr, dal, hasad, namima, ghiba. These are internal bid'ahs and bid'ahs of the tongue. And so it's not only about the way one dresses or eats, which are important sunnahs, but it's the way one is and speaks, which are the more important sunnahs. So, and then we'll end beautiful dua, and then we'll see if there's questions. That he says, هذا وأرجو الله في الإخلاص, this, i.e. this concludes the text, and I'm hopeful, I long in Allah fil ikhlas, to grant me genuine sincerity for Him, min al-riya'i, from trying to show off to His creation, thumma fil khalasi, and then secondarily after that to free me, min al-rajimi, from the devil, accursed one, thumma nafsi, and then my vile ego, wal hawa, and the whims of that ego, and that the ego, hating one's ego is the way to be of the most benefit to society. Okay, if people want to know, how can I be most beneficial? I want to help. I want to serve the community. I want to be a part of the solution. I want to get the ummah out of the state. What do I do? The best way? Combat the ego. Combat the ego. And one of our masters says, Man maqata nafsahu fi nafsihi, asha nasu fi dhillihi. Whoever despises his ego internally, people will flourish in his shade. People will flourish in his shade. You will be a source of repose for everyone if you fight the ego. فَمَنْ يَمِلْ لِهَؤُلَاءِ قَدْ غَوَى, because whoever inclines towards these, the nafs and shaitan, then they are destroyed. هذا وأرجو الله أن يمنحنا عند السؤال مطلقا حجتنا, this, and I'm hopeful that Allah will grant us all, when we are being questioned, our proof. And our proof is our utter need for Allah, and our admitting that we are of no consequence and that we need His grace. ثم الصلاة والسلام الدائم على النبي دأبه المراحم, and then invocations and continuous peace and blessings upon the greatest of creation, the blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dabul Marahibu, the one that his whole approach, his whole methodology was unending mercy. Muhammadin, the man of praise, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad, wa sahbihi wa itrati, and his blessed companions and his family, wa tabi'in, and all that follow, linahjihi min ummati, his blessed, pristine, pure way of his blessed ummah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad an-nabiy al-ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillah wa shukrillah. If there's Q&A, inshallah, we'll attempt our best. Naam. Alaikum Asalaam wa rahmatullah. Bismillah.
I have a question. I didn't get to begin the lecture about dreams. The reason I'm asking because I have them quite often. They tend to be good. The best one, I guess, is when I'm testifying on a Muslim. I have them now certified that the dreams I have bad because I have a bad experience when I was in the military. Diagnosis of PTSD. So a person that has this, he has these dreams, but I guess me being Muslim, I don't really, I guess the shit the world is going to make it well on. So what did you say about having dreams?
Today, what did I say?
Yeah.
Did I say something about dreams?
Yeah. Did you say something about dreams? I thought you did.
I don't remember saying anything about dreams.
I thought you said something about having a person having dreams about something.
Does anyone recall?
What does it say in Islam about
Well, we can just say that dreams can either be good, bad, or neutral. If they're neutral, then it's probably just something that was on the person's mind. Like you go to bed hungry and then you dream of a big steak or something. I don't know. But if it's positive, then inshallah it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly, and that to take a good ishara from it, to take a good indication, and to give shukr for it, to give thanks to Allah for it. But again, to not get sort of attached to it, such that one has a false sense of piety or something like this. That it can be a good dream, could be a veil as well. So even if it's a very positive dream, even if it's a dream of a prophet, for example, Alayhi or our Prophet ﷺ, which is tremendous bushra, it's a tremendous good news, and we're not denying that. But to keep on forging ahead, wake up in the morning, we still have work to do. We still have to implement taqwa. No, there's definitely a lot of discussion about dreams in Islam, but just kind of give very general, broad, strokes. So if it's a negative dream, something clearly like bad, harmful, scary, demonic, then it's from shaitan, and just to ignore it, to seek refuge in Allah and make dua for protection, and to not share it with anyone. Okay. No. Yeah. After the bad dream, and then
you should go tell people about that bad dream.
No, you should not tell people. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. But no.
I have another question concerning Tawbah. You said about a person committing, because you got a lot of people. I mean, I wasn't born. I had a lot of bad experiences before I began. A lot of bad habits. A lot of bad habits that I had to get rid of. A lot of bad habits that has not been easy. Because I didn't become Muslim until I was in my 40s. So I had times when I was young and experienced the environment I was in. And believe me, it's not easy for me. Like Malcolm, God said about his life. It wasn't easy for him to rock, taking numbers, selling dope, all that. It's not easy. It's not, who says easy. But if you ain't experienced it, you don't know nothing about it. So you can't come up with no opinion about nobody that had it.
Absolutely.
But that's what he said. And that's what you said about Tawbah. I find myself sometimes I have to do it quite often.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that I got a problem with it. I don't have no problem with it. Because I had the blessings I done had in my life since becoming a Muslim national, and the troubles I done had, the ups and downs. And then I had a bad experience about 3 weeks ago where I could have lost my life, and it didn't happen. Bad experience. I was on my way, and we went to a
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
And I'm thinking about that. Because out of that, a lot of good has come. Out of that bad experience.
Mm.
You know, but Tawbah is something I find myself doing quite often.
MashaAllah, it's a sign of a true believer, and we should all be making Tawbah very often. We all need to make Tawbah. There's plenty of reasons, but in terms of other people, it's definitely something to highlight that we don't judge other people in terms of their relationship with Allah. We only judge the outward. إِنَّمَا نَحْكُمْ بِالظَّوَاهِرِ. We can only say the outward of this is right or is wrong, and we can give nasiha out of our love for each other, to advise each other that this might not be appropriate or whatnot. But in terms of the person's heart, that's Allah's domain. And like you said, for some people, there's things that are very, very difficult, and Allah knows that. And Allah knows that. And if a person struggles and they're really trying their best, Allah sees that. And Allah is more merciful than, all of our mercy combined in this whole cosmos, from beginning of time to the end, is a drop in the ocean of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And so one of the things that we should remind ourselves is to have a good opinion of each other. Never be judgmental. And there's something called ghiba of the heart. We talked about ghiba. There's ghiba of the tongue, but there's ghiba of the heart, which is to formulate a bad opinion of someone else. So even if we see something wrong on the surface, we genuinely want them to stop that wrong, just like we genuinely want for ourselves to stop the wrong. But in terms of that person's situation and their heart and their relationship with Allah, it's Allah's affair. And we cannot come to any conclusions about them. We can only say, Allah knows best. And inshallah, actually, Imam Nawawi says we should make excuses. Up to 70 excuses. And so there's people have their issues, they have their reasons, and we should be merciful, allow people time to grow. Not to, it hasn't happened in 2 seconds, in 10 minutes, khalas. Strike the javel and send them to your mental prison of bad people. Label bad. No.
I think the most important thing now in these times, I've never seen these many people in the streets, these many people that have mental issues, pushing carts down the streets. And this is one of the favorite things I say, that I'm blessed and I know I'm blessed. And I'm blessed when I look at those people, and I think that could be me.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Absolutely.
All my worries wrong.
Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah.
Don't know where I'm at.
Alhamdulillah.
They're going to take care of me, but send me someplace where I'm not being taken care of.
Alhamdulillah.
That's
Alhamdulillah.
what makes me more angry than anything. They run around telling these lies, they trying to help their own. They're lying. I've been in this situation. They complain about me keeping my clothes clean. I experienced it. That's what I'm talking about. I'm glad I did, because I experienced it, and that made me feel more appreciative what I have now. I was in a place where I get my clothes clean. They were talking about, when you're in this place, you take your clothes to the clean. That's been some of my, I brush it out and just thank God I ain't got to be dealing with it. And I was found out every day for my blessing and shit.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. MashaAllah. No.
You mentioned that ithaar is preferring others to oneself. Even when it comes to blessings, that you prefer that Allah blesses others perhaps more than oneself. How does that, how's that compatible with the hadith of La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibbu li akhihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi?
Right. So none of you believe till you love for your brother what you love for yourself. That's like an equivalence. Everything that I love for myself, I love for my brother. It would seem ithaar would be even higher. Ithaar would be even higher. That to love for them what you don't have. And Allah Ta'ala praises the Ansar, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. That they prefer others over themselves even though they had a need for it too. So by hand, they gave what they needed to their fellow believers. And Allah highlighted, وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ, despite the fact that they had a need for what they were giving away. It would seem that this is the epitome of these levels. And Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, he had a statement. Someone asked him, someone visited him and said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, that what is how do you what is your definition of gratitude? O kama qal. And Imam Ja'far said, how do you understand gratitude? And so the man said, well, when we are given blessings, we're thankful. And when blessings are withheld from us, we're patient. And he said, that's how the dogs of Medina are. When they get good things, they're thankful. If not, they're patient. They wait it out. He said, for us, the way we understand gratitude to Allah is when we're given blessings, we do ithaar. We give them to others. And when blessings are withheld from us, then we're thankful. So it would seem that ithaar is the pinnacle of the prophetic ethic. And may Allah Ta'ala grant us tawfiq. It's a very difficult thing to implement, but inshallah, natabarrak. When we mention these masters, we inshallah natabarrak, we try to take the barakah of their states, and hopefully Allah will join us with them, inshallah, in rank. So, questions? Naam.
I just want to, I had a couple of my own questions, but I want to clarify something that she asked. So, does ithaar also apply to good deeds? So do we prefer that other people, I thought we were supposed to race to good deeds. Do we also prefer that others get the reward over ourselves?
That's a good question. There's actually a big debate amongst the fuqaha about this. Is there ithaar with good deeds? And many of them said no, that you race to get the good. But some of them said in certain situations, if you prefer others, it could be even higher. So it sort of just depends. But
could you give me an example of what, preferring that somebody else does the good deed over you?
Well,
if you feel they're more qualified.
Yeah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That I cannot recall the way the fuqaha break it down, so I don't want to answer on my own accord. So inshallah I'll try to. Unfortunately, this is our last class, but maybe after the summer I'll try to give a more explicit, because I just recall that there is a tafsil. They say it depends on the situation. One thing I can just, from what I've seen from my teachers though, is they were, and I think it was a way of part of their pedagogy to teach us, is they were avid for every good that they could get. So but ithaar, in terms of good deeds, could certainly just be in the heart, at least, that wishing for others to have all of the good deeds that we do. But we should not want a decrease of our own good deeds. That's something definitely not. So in that sense, ma yuhibbu li nafsi, whatever we want for ourselves, the tawfiq that we want for ourselves, it doesn't have to be either or. We want that same tawfiq for others. But particularly of dunyawi blessings, worldly things, that's where it's yu'thiruna ala anfusihim walau kana bihim khasasa. So perhaps there's a distinction also between spiritual and worldly blessings. Naam. Do you have a second? Naam.
I want to go back to this idea of Tawbah and how that's related to consequences of actions. Talk a little bit about that. It seems that in certain situations Allah could absolve us of the consequences of sins. Right?
Sorry, repeat the question. Mm-hmm. Worldly consequences or otherworldly consequences?
I'm more worldly consequences.
Yeah, otherworldly, that's what Tawbah does, it erases it. Worldly, yeah, one needs to redress if there's something. So the fourth condition of Tawbah is for sins that have worldly harms that ensued from them, one needs to redress those harms, i.e. if someone took money or took property, they need to return that, repaying debts, for example. So that those need to be redressed to the best of one's ability.
Maybe I'm not phrasing properly. So in terms of, an example would be like Adam, right? Even if he made a mistake in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was sent to to earth. Even if, when Allah forgave him, he didn't reinstate him back in paradise, right? When he still had to live with the consequences of his actions.
Yeah, I mean, actions have consequences.
So,
and so if a person commits a sin and there's a worldly consequence, they make Tawbah for the otherworldly consequence. But the worldly consequences, if it happens, it happens, and one needs to obviously deal with that. But once a person makes Tawbah, then they can look, the Tawbah is from the lens of Shariah, and they have to do that. But then after the fact, when it's all said and done and they're dealing with the consequences, then they can open the lens of haqiqah and to say that this was decreed. And to be even content with the way Allah has played it out. And so even with our Master Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu salam, and this is something we talked about, that what happened with him alayhi salatu salam, that from the lens of Sharia, that outward of which was something that was supposed to be otherwise. And we say the outward of which because we don't believe that he sinned, alayhi salam, but the inward reality was a tremendous benefit, because they say that there was no other way for the purpose of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, to manifest in this world, other than that occurrence which is considered to be that the prophetic way and the prophetic light, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his reality, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and all those who follow him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so then there are, after the fact, a person, if they slip, they make Tawbah, genuine Tawbah, and they, inshallah, stop doing the thing. With worldly consequences, or even the fact that it occurred, one can look at it also from the lens of Allah's decree. And some of them even mention that it's one of the benefits after the fact, again, not before. One cannot use it to justify sin, but after the fact, when looking back, one can say that it was a protection from ujub. That some people, when they're getting religious and they're practicing it really well, if they never slipped, they would fall into a religious ujub, being impressed with how pious they are. Oh, I haven't missed the Tahajjud in so long, and I fast so often, and I read so much Quran every day, and I've memorized this much, and kada wa kada, and they never had any ostensible sin to point to that they fell into. Whereas a person who they have sins, after the fact, they look back, they're just broken. They don't have any ujub. It kills the ujub. And they just have pure faqr, like, Allah, I'm a big mess. And I know I'm a mess, and you know I'm a mess. And, fix me up. Fix me up. So there's even with sin, that when we open the eye of haqiqah, again, not before the fact, not to justify, but after the fact, looking back, even then we say alhamdulillah. Even then we say alhamdulillah. Because Allah He's the best planner. Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
We have time for actually one more question, and I would like to take it online.
Oh, mashallah. Tayyib, we'll do ours after the formal conclusion, inshallah.
So the question we have from online is, what does it exactly mean to love other Muslims for the sake of Allah and hate them for the sake of Allah? How should we love and hate? How should they be love and hate?
Yeah, loving and hating other Muslims or other people for the sake of Allah it's nothing personal. That's sort of at the heart of the matter, nothing personal. So it has to do with vices and virtues. So we love virtue, whether in ourselves or others. And we hate vice, whether in ourselves or others. And so it's nothing personal with me, it's nothing personal with others. So it's not the person, it's not the entity, but the traits or the actions that they are choosing or we are choosing to do. So whatever virtue or good that we see in ourselves or others, we love for the sake of. Why? Because Allah loves it. That's why we love it. And whatever evil that we see in ourselves or others, why do we hate it? The evil and the trait and the action, not the person, is because Allah hates it. And so it's nothing personal with each other, with fellow Muslims, nothing personal, but rather choices. We hate the bad choices and we love the good choices, because what Allah loves, that's what we love. The choices that Allah loves is what we love. The choices that Allah hates, that's what we hate. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa alam. And this is considered the pinnacle of faith, that will conclude with this hadith from the Muslim Imam Ahmad, that man ahabba lillah wa abghada lillah wa a'ta lillah wa mana'a lillah faqad istakmala imanu, or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that whoever loves for the sake of Allah, i.e. only the virtues that like we mentioned, and then whoever hates for the sake of Allah, the things that Allah hates, And whoever gives for the sake of Allah, not for personal motives, ithaar, and whoever withholds for the sake of Allah, then they have reached the pinnacle of Iman. They have reached the very height of this beautiful mountain. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us these realities and to forgive us for our shortcomings, to accept this dars, to accept all of our efforts, and to overlook our shortcomings, our mistakes, although they be numerous. And we ask Allah Ta'ala, Hablana ya Mawlana bila shay. Grant us, Ya Allah, despite us having nothing to offer you, but our utter need and faqr to you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله.